Hola, muy buenas tardes. Soy Adriana Sánchez, gerente de proyectos del British Council México, y esta tarde tendré el honor de ser el moderador de este webinar. Y bueno, pues muy bienvenidos a todos a este sexto webinar y último webinar de una serie que hemos tenido y que comenzaron en junio pasado, durante los cuales hemos hablado de temas muy interesantes, entre ellos las experiencias de varios profesores durante este periodo de pandemia en diferentes estados de la República. Hemos aprendido de buenas prácticas, hemos hablado incluso de resiliencia en los profesores. Y bueno, hemos aprendido que el compartir las experiencias y conocimientos nos ayudan a hacer las cosas mucho mejor. Así que queremos aprovechar esta oportunidad para hablar sobre los grupos de interés, los Special Interest Groups. Queremos saber qué son, cómo trabajan, qué hacen, qué actividades tienen y los beneficios que tienen los miembros de estos grupos y las instituciones. Quisiéramos saber el impacto que han tenido estos grupos en el Reino Unido y también en México, ahora que lo estamos trabajando, porque en nuestra conferencia Bibel, que fue en febrero pasado, lanzamos dos grupos de interés, uno enfocado a la investigación en la enseñanza y el otro acerca del aprendizaje en tecnologías. Entonces, bueno, para hablar sobre este tema, tenemos unos invitados expertos en la materia. Ellos han formado parte de grupos de interés en el Reino Unido y ahora están trabajando también en ellos en México. Y bueno, vamos a comenzar con este conversatorio. La entrevista será en inglés y bueno, pues permítanme presentarlos y vamos a comenzar. Well, it's my pleasure to welcome Sergio Durán. Sergio is the coordinator of the Bibel Teacher Research SIG in Mexico. He's also head of the languages department at Escuela Normal Veracruzana. He holds an MA in Humanistic Studies from Tecnológico de Monterrey and is completing a second one in TEFL from the University of Guadalajara. He's a former British Council language assistant, IATEFL grantee, and member of the IATEFL SIG in global issues. Welcome, Sergio. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a great pleasure to be here with you all.
Thank you, Sergio. And well, I am also very happy to have with us Graham Stanley. Graham is the British Council English for Education System lead for the Americas, and he is based in Mexico. He has been an active member of Communities of Practice and Teacher Association Special Interest Group for many years. Currently, he is newsletter editor for the IATEFL Learning Technology SIG and has been the leader in setting up the Bibel SIGs in Mexico, and he also coordinates the Bibel Learning Technology SIG. Welcome, Graham and Sergio.
Thank you, Adriana. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you, Graham. And well, to start this conversation, let's first understand what a SIG is and how it works. So, Sergio, what is a special interest group known by its initial SIG?
Well, thank you again for having me here. What is a special interest group? What is a SIG? When people come and ask me this question, I always give this example of a group of friends, right? Like even if you have a big group of friends, sometimes there are some friends with whom you discuss about politics, for example, or a group with whom you discuss about Game of Thrones, maybe, or your favorite football team, and that is basically what a special interest group is under a big teacher association or a teacher community like Bibel. A SIG is a group of teachers that share an interest in one area of learning a language. Maybe it's autonomy, or maybe it's literature, maybe it's reading comprehension, technologies, research. There are many areas in which we can focus. But the main difference between having just a group of teachers sharing and a SIG is that a SIG has a structure and has some objectives, of course, and the structure comes from the committee. The committee is in charge of organizing activities and making sure that the SIG works, making sure that all members of the SIG are getting what they deserve. The activities that are organized in a SIG can be academic or non-academic, some informal activities. Among the academic activities, you can find, for example, face-to-face talks, webinars, online discussions, maybe a conference, an annual conference as well, and among the other activities, the non-academic activities, we can also have some, I don't know, like a Christmas gathering or a summer course that might not be totally academic, but in which teachers from the SIG get to know each other a little bit more. Well, I mentioned that there is a committee, and in the committee there are various roles. There is a coordinator. There is also a social manager assistant. There is also well, someone that is in charge of the online events, and everybody has a role, and everybody does something in order to make the SIG work. So that's basically what a SIG is. It is a group of teachers with the same interest, with certain structure, in order to find objectives and in order to make more teachers involved in a topic, and make this topic, again, it can be pronunciation or any area of language learning in this case, to develop that topic in a teacher association, to make it more well, to make it flourish, we can say. So that's basically a SIG.
Thank you, Sergio. It's interesting to know that these groups are different from informal meetings of people who share the profession. Now I understand that they have a clear structure and outcomes. So now to you, Graham, what has been the impact of SIGs in the UK?
Well, as Sergio said, there's lots of different kinds of SIGs. In the UK, perhaps the special interest groups that I know best are the ones that are part of IATEFL, the large national international teachers association there. There are 16 SIGs there, and I'm a newsletter editor of the Learning Technologies SIG, which has been going 30 years. So really, I think at the heart of a teachers association are the SIGs. They are the reason why people come together. They're the most active part of a teachers association like IATEFL. So they hold the most events, online events, face-to-face events. There are newsletters, there is websites, social media, chats. There's really a real drive to bring teachers together to help them learn from each other, and that's the important thing, about the special interest, whether it be learning technologies, research, literature, pronunciation, young learners and teenagers, etc. Whatever reason there is for a focus for the special interest. And the benefits, I think, of this are lots. You know, as Sergio said, there are lots of different sort of outputs that the SIGs have, including conferences, but also publications. They may be, the newsletter, for example, is very practical, aimed at helping teachers with their classroom practice. But then a SIG, such as the Learning Technology SIG, for example, can put out a a publication which is more academic. So there's a research publication that the IATEFL Learning Technology SIG put out last year, which focuses upon using technology and in the classroom, but we're, from an academic perspective and looking at the evidence, they can really help, I think, and this is the important thing, I think, for Mexico and for the BBEL SIGs, they can really promote teachers and help teachers raise their level professionally quite high. So we can encourage teachers to become presenters, to write, to do all sorts of things that will get them more involved in their profession and help them achieve their own goals as well.
Okay, thank you, Ram. I think that special interest groups are a very powerful tool of learning and for the professional development of teachers and communities. Now I see why SIGs are very popular in the UK and among the ELT community and other fields of expertise as well. We really would like to see that impact in Mexico, and it's great news that we launched 2 successful SIGs in BBEL 2020. So before going, let me thank viewers from Hidalgo, hello, from Guerrero, Nuevo León, Mexico City, Yucatán, Estado de México, Chimalhuacán, Estado de México, from Colima, from Conaleps. Thank you for being with us, all of you. And it will be great to have more SIGs in Mexico. For those of you who are at home following this webinar, tell us what your passion in ELT is, what areas you would like to discuss and learn more about. Maybe assessment, or maybe CPD, or EDI, or materials writing, pronunciation. Okay, let us know. And write it in the chat because we need ideas for future SIGs. And please send your questions too. Well, now, Sergio, in Mexico, the British Council introduced the first 2 SIGs during our annual BBEL conference. You are the coordinator of the Teacher Research SIG. Could you share your experience coordinating this group?
Yes, of course. It's been a really nice experience, to be honest. As you mentioned, we just started last February, and well, we have had a kind of difficult situation, and even if the situation hasn't been the best to start a SIG, I think the experience so far it's great. Well, I have to say first that we have formed an amazing team in the committee, and I would like to take this opportunity to thank all my fellow members of the committee: Omar, Ale, Tamara, Claudia, Elias, Laura. You do an amazing job, and you have made that this SIG, well, it's already very successful, I think. And I think it's very successful because we already have around 200 members. A lot of them heard from us during BBEL. A lot of them heard from us for social networks or maybe via email. And I think this, well, we are very pleased. To be honest, I didn't expect that amount of members so far. So, well, it's been a great experience, as I said before. Even if during this contingency, it's been quite hard to work and to have things going on. We have been able to publish our first newsletter. That was in the last days of May, and the second one is just coming in July. So we are very happy to have a newsletter already, and well, what do we do in a newsletter? As Graham mentioned before, it is a very nice tool to get more and more teachers involved in this. We send them this newsletter, and they can read it at home. They can learn about all the different things that the SIG is doing. They can learn about all the different opportunities they have in order to develop and to get more involved in this topic. And it's also an open space for members to go and publish something they want to share with the rest. Maybe a report on their research, maybe a report of an event that they attend. So we are very happy to have this space, so we can get to know each other, and we can learn from all our members what they are doing, and they can also get more involved with our SIG. We had also a webinar in the beginning of June with Richard Smith, who is a very well-known figure in the field of research, and we're very happy to have it. We had around 200 attendees. The majority of them were members of our SIG, but we were very happy to have people from India, from Bangladesh, from Argentina, Chile, attending this webinar. So we were very happy to have that. And that's it. I mean, it's been a great experience, kind of difficult at the beginning, but it's been very, very good.
Okay, thank you, Sergio. And Graham, you have been a member of many and different SIGs. Could you share your personal experience of these groups?
Yes, I think, well, first of all, I'm really happy to hear how active the research SIG has been, Sergio. That's really good. What I'm hoping to do is we launched, at the same time as the research SIG, we launched the Learning Technology SIG after BBALT. But because of the pandemic, we're a little bit behind, so we haven't been half as active as you. But I think the idea is use this to relaunch the SIG and to become a lot more active from now on. So I think it would be great if anyone who is listening to us here or who has signed up previously would like to become involved, then I think we would love to hear from you. And we will be shortly holding events and having a meeting. We were going to meet face-to-face, but we're going to be going to meet totally online, I think, now. Especially this is important because the idea is that we want teachers from all over Mexico, not just Mexico City where I'm based, to join, which I think is important. So the online aspect would be good. But I think that, some of the benefits I think that I've seen of belonging to a SIG have been the idea of thinking more seriously about your profession, of being connected with other people. Especially in a SIG, you end up becoming connected to those people who are very sort of, whose expertise in that special interest is quite high. And so you end up learning quite a lot from each other. And something like learning technologies, for example, it's not possible for one person to be an expert in all learning technologies. You can specialize in certain aspects of it, and then you have to really learn from other people, have a look at what they're doing, get interested in their research, in their practice, and really learn together. So I think being part of a SIG helps you do that. I mean, it's invaluable, really.
Okay, thank you. And Graham, how has been part of this community? For you, how has been part of these communities of practice, and they have impact to your professional development? How have SIGs contributed to build your professional network?
Well, in my personal experience has been very positive indeed. I took a special interest in learning technologies quite early on as a teacher. And I think I became more and more involved in it through being a member of the SIG. I was exposed to a lot of other ideas that got me very interested in technology. I realized that some of the things that I'd started experimenting with my own learners, nobody else was doing. So I was able to see that I was doing something that was quite interesting. That led me to presenting. And so through the SIG, I got involved in presenting my ideas at conferences, etc. That led to publications. And in my own personal experience, it led to me writing a book about learning language learning and technology, which I did in 2013. So I can't underestimate just how important it has been for me to be part of a SIG.
Okay. And for you, Sergio, do you have any experience how the SIGs can help to your professional development?
Well, they can help you a lot. First of all, you get to learn from other contexts. In our SIG, that is research, it is well, we are sometimes just focused in our context, and we try to solve a problem in our context, right? But when we get to meet other people and we get to learn how they tackle the same problem or a similar problem that you had, maybe you get what you don't think you were going to get. It is a very nice experience to learn from other contexts. Also, because as last Monday, Ibed and Liliana and Mr. Vaulowski were saying, it is very difficult sometimes for teachers to get more development, right? To have access to some courses or a master's maybe. So I think a very good idea to follow your development is to enroll a SIG, because, well, these SIGs are free. You don't have to pay a single peso. And the second thing is that you don't need a lot of time. Of course, you need certain time to maybe read the newsletter. You need certain time to attend a webinar, to go to the annual meeting maybe. But at the end of the day, it's not really time consuming. And you get to learn a lot. You get to meet a lot of new people that are doing similar things that you are doing. And in this case, well, you enlarge your list of contacts, and as you said in the very beginning, Adri, you get to belong to a community, and especially within the circumstances we are living now, I think it's very important to feel part of a group, feel that you belong to a community, because well, these days, for example, if you work in a school in which you're the only English teacher and there are, the math teacher and the Spanish teacher, you have different problems than them. And if you're part of a SIG, you get to share all these problems, all these ideas that you can have in order to solve problems. So I think it is really enriching to be part of a SIG, because in this case, you learn a lot from all the members, from the committee, from organizing events. I think it's a very interesting idea.
Okay, thank you. Well, before my next question, let me read the areas of interest that the audience has written to the chat box. Sandra told us about technology. Alejandra says about vocabulary, teaching strategies. We have resources to teach pronunciation online. Dolores says distance learning. Regina says about Mexican teachers in basic education need a young learners SIG. Joaquin would like to have a SIG for task-based language teaching. Carmen, authentic materials, culture, and language. Christelle, assessed and improved reading in basic levels. Marta says about how to assess large groups, more than 60s. Well, we have those areas. Well, now, Graham and Sergio, do you think that a SIG will play an important role in the English teacher's professional development? And if yes, if it is a future for the professional development, what other topics should we explore in SIGs? What SIGs are needed or will be relevant to the ELT community in Mexico, and why?
Well, sorry.
Who answers?
Yeah. Sorry. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I think it is very important to be part of a SIG in order to develop your career, to launch your career, because as Graham was saying, you get to have a different experience from just teaching language, right? When you realize that there's the opportunity of going to conferences, presenting in conferences, or just writing an article for the newsletter, and that you see that some people read your article and you get some feedback, it is a great experience. It is an empowering experience as well. So I think it is definitely a good idea if you want to continue with your career, because you get you can get to widen your horizons. Something that it's not very easy. Well, in your second question was about what other SIGs could be relevant. I was listening to someone saying something about large classes. To be honest, well, it's the first time I listened to this idea, but I think it would be very relevant. It would be very interesting for the public sector, especially because I think a lot of us have worked with massive classes of 40, 50, 60 students, and it's very hard to get them to work properly. So I think that would be a good idea. But because of my interest as well, I would have to agree with culture, some materials maybe. I think those could be very interesting SIGs, because I think those topics haven't been discussed much in Mexico. So I think those would be very relevant topics as well, in order to, again, enlarge your horizons, see in other ways, and well, and of course to continue with your development as a teacher.
What do you think, Graham?
I agree with Sergio, what he said, but I think one of the interesting thing about SIGs is that it should be decided by the members. So really, where there's a demand for people to come together and share things, that's where it's important. So we started with the B-Belt SIGs at the last conference, thinking there was going to be a demand for learning technologies and teacher research, which were the two areas which we thought were very hot topics with teachers. And that's where we started. But actually, SIGs can be very, very... I'd also like to just address one of the questions that I saw, in how we could take an active role in a SIG, which I think is important to a higher level, I think. And so, Andrew, I think what we're looking for the SIGs is volunteers. So I think what you can do is you can write to, I'm sure, the email address that you'll be sharing later, Adriana, and express, there we go, express an interest in being a member, or being a member and a committee member. And if you are interested in volunteering to be a committee member, you can say what area you would be interested in, whether it be newsletter, website, events organizer, social media manager, etc. Where there's an interest, then in the special interest, we can do activities. I think that's the most important thing.
Well, SIGs provide opportunities to network, share ideas, experience, and knowledge, collaborate, learn, and explore new research topics. Hopefully, we will launch more special interest groups here in Mexico very soon. Okay, let's now move to questions and comments from the audience. Joaquin asked, how can I be part of the SIG, of a SIG? And I would say, and how much is it?
Well, these SIGs are free. You don't have to pay a single peso. That's a great thing. In other teacher communities, there are SIGs, and they are normally, well, you need to pay a fee to be part of the teacher community and to be part of the SIG. These SIGs are especially very, very interesting because you don't have to pay a single peso, so that's great. And if you want to be part of the teacher research SIG, you can write an email to the address that maybe you can see in a moment, or you can follow us on Twitter, because we have an account there, and we would be very happy to get some comments, some direct messages there that are open to everybody. So just write an email, and then you can be part of our SIGs. It's not very difficult, actually.
Okay, and Denny from Tlaxcala is asking how to become members of SIG, and I would like to know a bit more on how to approach different learning styles in this virtual teaching. I think it's another area. Well, we have to talk about Andrew Starling question. Fernanda is asking, how do I sign up for the newsletter?
If you're a member of our SIG, you can get the newsletter in your email. Again, just send us an email, tell us, or just tweet something to our account, and we can have your address. And when you have, well, you need to fill in a form, etc. And when we have your address, we're going to send a newsletter every 2 months. So, and of course, in the newsletter, you can find also some more information about how to publish in the newsletter, how to write an article, maybe write a report. So there are many opportunities there. So if you just send us an email, follow us on Twitter. Well, that's my personal account, but you can also follow the Bibeltier SIG account. And that's it. I mean, it's not very hard, actually.
Mm-hmm. Graham, Luisa is asking, is there a tool at British Council to support us on flipped classroom?
It's a very good question, Luisa. I think not so much a tool, but I think there are lots of different ways that the idea of flipping a classroom, which for people who aren't aware of what that is, it means rather than giving a class and then setting homework, it's actually the students doing something that you would either set for homework or do in class that would be better for them to do before they come to class. So something to prepare them for the classroom. That's flipping the classroom, sort of turning things over. There are lots of different ways to approach that. One of them is for online learning. There's something called SOFLAT, which is synchronous online flipped learning approach. And strangely enough, next Tuesday, the British Council's Teaching English website, which you can see scrolling across the screen at the moment, has a live chat at 7 a.m. It's a bit early for Mexico time, on the flipped classroom approach, which I recommend you go to. If you can't get up that early to see it, then you can actually watch the recording of it. There'll be a recording of it. It'll be a Facebook Live event like this is. But just Related to that, to Luisa's question, I think the important thing is that we take what specific aspects of, for example, in the learning technologies SIG of learning technologies, and we can do presentations or discussions on them. And this will be part of what the SIG does. And what I'm hoping to do very shortly is launch that and to get to ask the members what they would like to focus upon, what really is important for them, and we can hold online events about that. So that will be happening very soon.
Okay, and Patsy is asking, do you recommend a program to make animation to explain grammar? And to explain grammar, animations. Have you
It's another learning technologies question, isn't it? I think, again, Patsy, related to your question, I think one of the things which would be interesting to do that you don't normally find normally at conferences, because there's not enough time, is to actually have sort of a workshop session that is maybe longer than a normal conference presentation, with someone who knows to take you through doing something like you're suggesting. We could explore doing that, actually, because there are lots of tools that you can use to do what you suggest you want to do, to create some kind of animated grammar activity. It does take quite a bit of time, though, to do it. So you would need perhaps for somebody to introduce you to one or two options for you to go off and explore them, and then maybe to come back and share the results and talk about the experience. And that is something that is perfect to do with a SIG, with the Learning Technologies SIG. And so we could look at doing that, definitely.
Mm-hmm. It's same, I think. Jos Rios is talking about a suggestion and strategies to success about teaching online and students learning. I think now remote teaching and teaching online are very successful. No, it's a tool that now many teachers are needed. And what suggestions? Maybe basic or more specific suggestions?
Just addressing that last question and then handing it over to Sergio, actually, because I think what's happening now is this emergency remote teaching that suddenly teachers without much experience find themselves having to do, and they're thrown into it. And they're trying to cope with it. But I think what's really important now is for, as this looks like it's going to be part of our lives for longer than we originally thought, I think the important thing there is to learn how to do it better than the kind of quick emergency remote teaching that people have been doing. And also handing it over to Sergio, I think there's a real role here for teachers to do action research and to learn from each other about what is happening at the moment because of the pandemic. And the SIG, Sergio's SIG, can actually help teachers with being able to structure that and being able to do things in a way that is then valuable for colleagues. Wouldn't you say so, Sergio?
Yes, of course. We are actually sharing a lot of tips and a lot of webinars and ideas that we get across in our Twitter account. So if you follow us on Twitter, you can get probably part of this conversation. Of course, it is something that has been very difficult for a lot of us that were not probably very well trained to teach online. And it's a problem, and then problems lead to research, right? So there's a lot of research going on right now. And of course, we are thinking of giving you some tools like webinars or maybe an article in our newsletter in order for everybody to learn a little bit more about this. Something I would like to add about our SIG is that because it's the teacher research SIG, a lot of people have come to us and ask us if they can publish their research with us, if there is if we are going to have a journal to publish research. Well, for now we're just starting, and we have a newsletter. And one of the questions in the live comments was, how can I become more active, right, and not just sharing? Well, for now, the most important part is sharing, right? It's getting to know each other and to establish or to have a stable group. And when you have a stable group, then it's a lot easier to start having more projects. And of course, one of those projects is to have an annual publication, maybe, or in the future, why not a journal? But for now, it is very important that we all know what exactly it means to be part of our SIG. It is to come and learn together. And in the future, of course, we would like to continue flourishing and have a journal. Today, a lot of ITEFL SIGs have their own journal. They've been together for about 25 years. So I think now it is about getting together, become a stable community that share their knowledge, share their experience in different fields through conferences, through webinars, through online meetings. And then maybe in the future, of course, we would love to have more, to conduct research together, to publish a book together. But for now, I think it is too ambitious, right? We're just starting, and we need to know where we are. Thank you.
Okay, it's in a good starting here in Mexico, you know. And well, Crystal is asking, in those groups, you can develop strategies or just share with colleagues?
Again, it is probably, well, both, because you can develop some strategies. I mean, if you're part of the learning technologies, of course, you're gonna get some strategies to teach using technology. In our SIG, you're going to get some strategies in order to build an action research in your own classroom. But it is also about sharing. I mean, it is about learning from the other members, not just from the committee members, because we are there to organize activities. But it's not that we are the experts of the field. We are there to organize activities, to make people get to know each other, to show them or to bring a presenter, and maybe in this way we all can learn together. But it's not that we are experts in this. And it is very important that everybody has that in mind, because I mean, a lot of people have come to us and asked us questions, and we are very happy to help, but maybe we don't have all the answers, and that's part of the fun of being a SIG, that we all find the answers together, that we all work together towards a common objective.
I think, if I may, I think one thing you said, Sergio, is very important. The idea of a SIG being very inclusive. So the SIG would like to help people who know nothing about the subject, I think. So nothing about teacher research or about learning technologies. There's a space there for people who really are beginners and want to start and learn. But there also should be a space for people who are very familiar with, for example, teacher research and learning technologies. They should feel they can join and learn from other experts like themselves, or also have the opportunity to share their knowledge with the others who maybe don't know as much as they do. And I think that's important. The SIG isn't just for one type of person. It's for anybody and everybody, experts and beginners. And it's really what the SIG ends up doing depends on who is in the SIG. I think that's very important as well.
Yes, I think SIGs is a group where you can share but always you can receive. And that will enrich everybody, because you will learn more.
Yeah.
And going back to questions, Andrew is asking, going back to SIGs, I have seen IATEFL SIGs emerge and others disappear. What's the lifespan of a SIG and why will they die out?
It's a good question, actually. I think if I can start, Sergio, I think, as I said before, there are SIGs that have quite a long history. So the Learning Technology SIG, the IATEFL one, is 30 years old. And there are other SIGs which are newer. So I think it really depends on the interest. Are there people interested in it? And when the members start tailing off, when there's no longer interest in the SIG, that's when the SIG would naturally die out, really, or should do so. So I think it needs to be dynamic. You can't sort of prop something up and keep it going if there isn't an interest, of course. But I think, if you identify a new interest, I think it's also important for that SIG to flourish, to be allowed to be born and to serve the members.
And if I may, if I add something, is that the nature of IATEFL 6 is different because you need to pay, right? And if SIGs don't have that fee, sometimes it is just very hard to continue having some activities, webinars, conferences, etc. The good thing about our SIGs is that we have a good sponsor, that is the British Council, and that we are, again, we don't have to pay. And if we have enough people that are interested in certain topic, then I think the SIG is going to continue. And again, it's about interest. It's about having enough people that would like to continue researching or learning about technology or learning about literature or whatever SIG.
Okay, thank you. Francisco Anaya is asking, is there a way to support the teaching research online or face-to-face? How can you start the researching?
I guess that's for me. If you're asking us if we can mentor your research, at this moment, again, we are not offering mentoring, but I mean, as a fellow teacher, of course, we can help. We can help you out if you have a question, if you don't know exactly where to start. Of course, we would first like to know what your problem is, right? Because to start researching, you need a problem. You need something that is happening in your classroom that you would like to solve. So, if you want to get in touch with us, and we would be very, very happy to help. Again, it is not part of our duties, let's say, to mentor research. But as a fellow teacher researcher, we would love to hear about your research, your interests, your problems, of course, and then, maybe try to find a solution together.
Okay, thank you, Sergio. And other question is, should SIGs be affiliated to an organization like IATEFL and BBEL, or can they be independent?
I think, we live in an age where with social media that there are groups of all sorts of types. So there are lots of groups on Facebook, on Twitter, in other places, of teachers sharing things, and they all serve a purpose. And I think, those are independent, if you like. They exist through personal initiatives or groups of teachers in particular areas of countries or with particular interests, and you can find a lot of that. I think the difference with a SIG, for me, is a SIG is more sort of slightly more formal. So there's a committee. There are activities. A SIG would set, as I say, they would have a newsletter. They would hold official events, and there's a lot more of that will go on with a SIG than will go on with something that is a lot more independent, that you can find on Facebook, for example, a group of teachers coming together just to do things. So I think there's an advantage of that. I think it's good that the two exist, but the advantage of a SIG is that it can be slightly more formal, and in that way perhaps achieve more. And if it is affiliated to an organization like the BBELT SIGs, where we've affiliated it to BBELT, then what you have as an advantage is that the audience that BBELT reaches is quite large. The British Council behind it, but supporting it, but allowing the SIG to develop naturally, but supporting it with this type of event means that we're able to reach a lot more people. And I think the important thing for me about these SIGs is that we want to be able to offer teachers in Mexico in particular the opportunity to come together, to learn from each other, to really shine and have opportunities for professional development that perhaps they may not otherwise have. That's the important thing.
Okay, thank you. What approach will Sergio recommend to learn English in social practice?
Yeah, I was reading that question, and that question also came up last Monday. Well, it is actually, I know that that's the approach that a lot of the programs, of the SEP programs are based on. Unfortunately, there is an approach called social practice, right? So I think it is a little bit of all of them. I mean, a little bit of the communicative approach, a little bit of task-based learning. I think it should be very eclectic and contextualized to your classroom. So that's what I would say. Of course, it is something in which research can be done. That is something that we all, not just in SIGs, but in the ELT community probably need to focus, because a lot of the national programs and curricula are based on this, and there isn't exactly an approach called that way.
Okay, well, before we say goodbye, Sergio and Graham, what would you say to someone who is hesitant to join a SIG?
Graham, would you like to start?
Sure, thanks, Sergio. I think they shouldn't be hesitant. You can be as active as you want in a SIG. So you can join as a member, you can participate in the events that are being held if you have time. You can then see how things are going. The idea is for us to be very welcoming. So we would like teachers from all over the country and elsewhere to join us, as I said before, beginners and experts alike. People who want to be very active, we'll find a place for them. People who just want to sort of attend events, we'll find that as well. And I think the important thing here is that this is something for you. And you have the ability to change what the SIG becomes by participating in it. And so we can serve what you require from a SIG to help you professionally. So I would say, what have you got to lose? Come and join us.
Sergio?
Yeah, the same. I think you can be as active as you want. Again, if you have a lot of time, you can maybe be part of the committee and take a more significant role. If you don't have a lot of time, well, then you can just attend some webinars. If you see a webinar that is not of your interest, you don't have to attend. But you have this opportunity of being active in a community that is or that follows the same interests that you have, that have the same questions, that have the same problems maybe. So, well, I can think of some examples of active members of our SIG that are experts, that are actually doctors already, and some others that are just starting their research, and it's fine. I think the dialogue that can happen between both of them, it's very enriching, because doctors sometimes are a bit distant from what is happening in the actual classroom, and teachers lack the methodology maybe to start the research. So I think, as Graham said, it is very enriching to have this dialogue, to get to know each other, to share our experiences in both ends of the spectrum, and in that way, I am sure that good things are going to happen. So if you're not very sure, just send us an email, get one or two of our newsletters, see what they are like, and if you don't like it, well, maybe it's not for you, and next February, if there is a new SIG, you can join the SIG that you want, right? So it is just about that. Of course, in the future, we would like to have some members that are more stable, but for now, I think there is nothing to lose.
Okay, well, if you have any specific question about learning technology SIG, send it to ltsig@britishcouncil.org. And if you have any question about our teacher research SIG, please send your message to tr.sig@britishcouncil.org. Well, it's now time to say goodbye. Thank you for joining us in this series of conversations, and please keep connected through our social media at MX British. And we also would like to invite you to visit our Teaching English website, where there are plenty of webinars and very useful materials developed for teachers and shared for free. So thank you, and see you soon. Thank you, Sergio. Thank you, William.
Goodbye.
Thank you, Adriana. Thank you, everybody. Bye, everyone.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.